It reveals the secrets of the past, the present, and what may come to be. Most would think me fortunate to own such a book, but I can only use it in service to others. That is my curse. It wakes, tormenting me once more, feeding on the mysteries of this world, unraveling them into opportunity. But opportunity for whom?
Hooray! So this is Total War Warhammer 3, and that's what I'm doing a showcase on today. And oh boy, this is going to be a long video, and it's going to be a complicated video, and it's going to be a rant video, all in one, because this game is great at the same time, but it's also shit at the same time. So, I'm going to tell you why. Now, I'm running this unmodded. Normally, I would have like 40 mods or something. This game is very moddable. It has a workshop. Now, what kind of game is it? Well, there's no real game like. There are some games that mimic the idea, but the premise is you pick an empire at the start of the game, and that empire has soldiers, it has buildings, it has doctrines, it has all kinds of things that makes an empire. And they all function differently. And your job is to conquer the world, in one sense or another. Some campaigns have different goals, some campaigns have the same goal. Now, I'm going to click this button here, show you the options first, and then I'm going to go into why the game is great, and I'm going to show you how it works and all that stuff. But for now, options first. So it has a lot of stuff. Now, I will mention this game requires a bit of a beefy computer to run. I have a NVIDIA GeForce 2080 Ti with a i7 rough. That's my rough like build, and I have about 30 gigabyte RAM. This game can lag my computer down, and that's why I have some of these medium. Because the game is, I wouldn't say it's poorly optimized, but you'll see once we get into the actual battles of the game, it's rendering about 4,000 or 5,000 models per big battle. Imagine how that's straining on the system. The sound is, I mean, it's whatever. The controls, you can rebind everything. Like, the game options has a lot, actually, and I'm very happy about this. It has color profiles if you have color blindness. It has, you can remove and fix everything, and in the battles you can actually tweak even more. You can do anything in this. Like, you can really customize your experience. Now, I will mention one thing. I mentioned battles and model, right? So, in a campaign, you have an empire, like I said, which has soldiers. And as you fight another army, you get thrown into this live action sort of unit moving battle. And why am I mentioning this now? Because there's a graphic option called unit size. And this will increase the amount of units or decrease. So if you have a bit of a lower spec system, you can get away with, smaller armies to mitigate that problem. Okay, now we get to this part. The game has a tutorial, and it's quite good. I will say, it won't teach you how to deal with the AI in the campaign or the battles, but it will serve as a barrier of entry. This part doesn't exist in your game. If you buy Warhammer 3, you don't get this. And remember, this is a €60 Euro game, so whatever your regional equivalent will be. The Realm of Chaos is what you're going to be dealing with, okay? So I will be talking about everything, including the DLC policies, how the other 3 games work, and why it is like it is. I will mention it all, do not worry. So you click this, and you choose a faction, essentially. Now you're going to see factions here that you don't have. So which factions do you have? Well, you have Grand Cathay, Kislev, Khorne, Nurgle, Slaanesh, and Singed. You also have the Demons of Chaos. That's what you have nothing else. You don't have the warriors. You don't have this. You don't have ogres. This is all DLC. I will talk about this. But let's say I pick this lady here. Now, you can customize a little. You get where you start on the map, and it's all different. This is actually a quite good part of the game. You get to see exactly what's going on. The lore you can read if you want. They all have different ones. Now, a thing I will mention is every faction has this theme to it. So, this lady here is focused around her magic. You can see here, there's a bunch of things to do with magic and control, and, you know, it's the faction leader, I say. And there are some other options. This one you have to unlock inside the game. That's a good part of the game. You can actually unlock this guy by, you know, playing the game. So, every faction has like a faction effect, and this will change, even if you're changing character. But they are all themed in the same sort of direction. Then they all have a lord effect, which is applied to this lord only, this leader of an army. You have another leader of an army inside when you're playing. They won't get this particular buff, but they will get this. Now, I am mentioning units, and yes, as you can see, there are quite a fantastic amount of units. And they all have different starting units, and if you walk into, I don't know, Nurgle, you get a lot of different ones here. Now, I'm gonna go for Kislev. Actually, no, I'll go Nurgle, why not? I think Kislev is probably the campaign you're going to be playing first, if you're a bit confused. The settings for the game are, you know, you can pick and it will change, and there's a lot of options here. You can change some of this in the game, some of this you can't. So it will give you like a sort of introduction here. You can read that if you want to. Pause the video if you want to read that. Now, I will say, the differences in factions and playstyles from each faction to faction is incredible. The game does that very well, and it's about the only thing that the game is uncontested in. Playing Kislev versus playing like someone like Nurgle or Khorne, you don't get the same experience. There's different magic, there's different units, there's different kinds of interaction between units. There is so much. Now, I will let you watch a little bit of this. Every faction has like a sort of little introduction, but
false news has arrived before me. They believe Ursun is already dead. My proposition will require a delicate touch. I speak the truth. Your god is not dead.
Alright. So I show you half, because I don't want to spoil it. And I don't want to talk about the campaign mechanics just yet. What I want to show you is that this is the campaign map. And like I said, you started in the area I showed you. This is the game world. You can see it's pretty big, but it's not like huge or anything. It's pretty beefy. And there are many races. Many races that you don't even have access to. Now, I will explain something very quickly here. The game works on a province-to-province system, so this is your capital for now. But these have different little cities within them. And what that means is essentially that when you build something in, let's say in Volksgrad here, if you build something here, it will affect the entire province. So they're working together. Garrisons are based per little city though. So they don't really, people from Volksgrad won't defend Gerslev, for example. Now, I am going to mention another thing, and units come by tiers. This could be obvious to some, but if you're completely new to this franchise, you might not understand how it works. So, like, units are ranked by tiers. So, for example, an elemental bear is quite a powerful unit. You won't get it immediately, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean it's stronger than, say, a ice guard, even though they're different tiers. See, an ice guard could be good at different things, which means that the elemental bear could fall behind on certain things. The game has a rock-paper system, is what I'm saying. And there are some units that breach and change and gap over this. I'll let you explore that yourself if you buy the game. What I will do, though, is I will show you a battle. This is a campaign, right? You build your cities, you invest, and there's technology for every single race that you can tweak and have fun with. There's also usually a faction mechanic. I haven't unlocked yet. Well, I have unlocked it, but actually I might as well show it. There's no reason not. So this is the Ice Court. This is my faction's mechanic. One of them. There's two. The other one is up here, where you can use devotion to invoke certain things, and if your devotion gets too low, armies can invade your land. You know, you have to balance. Now I'm speed running a little here because the game itself is very complex. Okay, so every faction plays differently. Even this faction I'm looking at, which is one of the simple ones, Norska. So I could sit here for about 20 hours, explain every single faction, and I'd still not be done. So what I'm doing is I'm showing you a big crash course. You have a city, you can take over other cities, you siege them, there are siege battles. There's a lot to this game. So I'll show you a fight here. Now, I did say that you get to go into the battle, and you do. And for the people who are a bit older, a bit slower, a bit, you know, maybe not the best at micromanagement and stuff, there is a pause function and a slow mode function. So you're not going to get overwhelmed, unless you play on a very high difficulty, in which that's removed, forcing you to play more realistically. There's an option for that. Now, I said earlier that the game has a lot of accessibility features in how you want to play, and it does. So if let me show you a bit of the units. See, they're very much Slavic. They're squatting and everything. Kind of funny. And there are some cool units here, like this. So, and the animations are very good. Like, you're getting pretty good bang for your buck when it comes to animations. I picked a more boring faction in terms of looks, but I wanted you to see what the most basic human faction in this game looks like. And even they are quite cool. Winged Hussars? Not what they're called, but someone might get the reference. So, how you play here is that you can turn everything off. Like I said, if you don't want this green shit, you can turn that off. See? Gone. If you don't want the fact that you can see your units if they're like behind foliage, like I'm doing here, you can turn that off too. Like, there is a lot you can turn off if you don't want it. Now, the game worked on a rock, paper system, right? But there's a simple way for you to see, like, get an idea. Now, it's not perfect, but it will give you an idea what you can deal with. So these guys, right? Shock cavalry means in and out, right? Shock the enemy. They're anti-infantry, and as you can see, there's green little thingies above each enemy. You can turn this off and on too if you don't want that. See? You don't want it. All there for you. It tells me that if I charge into these marauders and stayed in there, see, this is what people don't get about this game, is that it's showing you the current threat level. So if I dropped this unit, teleported him in here, dropped him there, and they fought to the death, my unit will likely lose. That's what it's telling you. Now, if I charged in, did my damage, and then charged out before he has a chance to react, that will change. Because the damage I'm dealing versus damage I'm receiving isn't always the same. Now, it's telling me that if I charged into these dogs over here, that I may actually kill them if I stayed in. So, it's not 100% accurate, but it gives you an idea. And for a new player, that's, yeah, it's quite important. Another aspect of this game that's quite important, magic. So there's magic in this game. Magic's down here. You have an amount. The above slot is how much reserve you have. That will recharge over time. So this is like an hourglass. It will drop down here eventually as the battle progresses. And I can have a 50 power channeled at any given time. Even though this could also be full or empty, right? It's just telling me how much reserve I have. Now, there are a bunch of different spells in the game, and there's about 14 lures of magic, or something like that. Alright, we're now firing. Now, there are a couple of things in this game that piss me off, okay? So you see here how we're killing them, we're hitting them, and there are people dying. You have to pay for blood in this game. Now, we'll mention this later, but I'm gonna mention it now so that people don't get angry. This game's DLC culture is horrible. It will make EA blush. I'm not even kidding. Like, it's not good. It's the worst. So I'm just gonna play a bit faster here. I'm using magic to slow them down. So obviously, not all of my units are melee, but these can do pretty okay anyway. Now, there are many aspects of this game that will come at you at once. So you can pause the game completely. And you can go AFK if you want. It won't unpause. It won't do anything to you that you might not be prepared for. So you have options to slow it down. Right? You're wondering what kind of technology there's in the game? Everything is what I'm gonna say to that. Artillery, yep. Guns, sure. Flamethrowers, yep. Like, there's a bunch. Like, you won't run out of things to play around with anytime soon. Now, this is just a small battle. You know, it's nothing too extreme, nothing too intense. And I'm not gonna show you much more than this because part of the fun of this game is to show, test, and see what works, what doesn't, make your own army comps, play around with units. I'm not gonna spoil that. I know a lot of YouTube channels do this, where they like show you every unit, they show you like all the stats. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to show you the game, how it works, how it functions, how it feels, and then I'm gonna show you its price. And this game, normally what I would do is I would do a playthrough like this, and I would talk about the game's cost at the end, and then that would be it. Well, I'm not gonna do that this time. I'm gonna show you the game's cost pretty much half the video, because it's extremely important here. Now, normally I'm not the kind of guy that goes, oh, you know, it's $60, I should be getting this and this amount of fun. No, if a game's good enough and worth the price, in your opinion, for the amount of fun you had, the game could cost anywhere from 30 to 100. It's all about what you think it's worth. So for me, I'm going to show you exactly what you get when you buy this game. And what I've shown you so far is what you get. The races I mentioned earlier, that's what you get. This campaign is the only thing you get. Now, I'm gonna mention the campaign mechanic, but I'm not gonna show it, because this game's mechanic is really stupid, and no one likes it. There are mods to remove it, so even if you bought this game, there is mods to remove the campaign mechanic. Right, so as the turns progress, and this game is turn-based, if that wasn't obvious, you have a limited amount you can move, and down here you end a turn and it's all fine and dandy. Now, as turns progress, portals will start showing up, invading. They could be from Khorne, they could be from Nurgle, whatever. Portals to this realm up here. The Chaos realm. It's right here. And this realm has tasks in it that you have to. If you go to Nurgle, you have to survive. Get to the end, fight the end thing, and that's it. They all do this. So in Siege, for example, you have to go through portals and figure out what portal goes where, and then fight the end thing. And Slanesh is the same thing. You go through portals, and as you get further and further down to the middle, you get tempted with better and better rewards to leave, basically. And then Khorne is basically you go into an area, a big area, and you fight a lot. And then you get to fight the last guy, and then if you manage, you get a piece of a soul. Essentially. And at the very end, you get to save or kill Urson, or absorb him, whatever the story of your faction is. Now, no one likes this campaign. If you turn it off, it will basically just be this, divide and conquer. You know, it'll be like a campaign. Bit scuffed, but hey, it's a solid campaign, I'd say. But the campaign itself is shit. I'm gonna be entirely honest. The Realms of Chaos is crap, right? They tried something, it didn't work. I appreciate them trying something new, but it's not good. Now, I'm gonna hop out of here, and I'm gonna show you more or less how much difference this game has to what's basically missing, essentially. So if you go in here, and you play a campaign, and you play Realm of Chaos, you'll notice that you have a bunch of options here. These don't exist for you. These don't exist for you. And that's it for this game. Now you might think that's not too bad. That's, here's 2 factions. You're right, it's not too bad, but one of them is pre-order only. But you can buy it after, obviously. But they introduced that at the very start of this game, pre-order only, Ogre Kingdoms. And then the other one, Warriors of Chaos, is a new thing they've released, which is actually quite good. I will say, the DLC they released, the Warriors of Chaos, very good. They are quite different, they function differently, they feel different, and even if you have someone like Nurgle, they don't feel the same. I'm going to show you what I mean.
Sigma's will.
Oh, wrong one. I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. If I go in here and I click on Nurgle, you'll see that Nurgle has some units, and he has a bunch of faction effects. The other ones. You hop down to Warriors of Chaos, there's a Nurgle guy here, but he works very differently. He sort of bridges the gap between soldiers and demons, and he has a bit of both. So they do a very good job of not making it feel like a reskinned Kugath, right? Which is the other Nurgle leader. So what's the problem? Well, I mentioned you get this campaign, didn't I? This campaign, though, you don't get that. You need the other 2 games for that. Right? So what does this campaign bring you? Well, it has the map of the entire world. So earlier, we were here. This was our map earlier. Follow my mouse, okay? Oop. 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 And boop. This was the map earlier, right? About here. It could be a bit further here, maybe. About something like this. But with the Immortal campaigns, it includes the Old World, which was the first game. And then Warhammer 2. Including this part here. So it's, here. It's quite big. I will say, the Immortal Empire, it has every race from all the games. Now, so how do you get access to this? Well, you need to own all 3 games. It's just that. And that's 180 euros, folks. Can you go back and play the older ones for that money? Sure. But if you have all 3, why would you? This campaign will introduce all of them in every capacity. There's no reason to go back to play Warhammer 2 when you've had the Immortal campaign here. There's just not. Unless you want to play the Warhammer 2 campaign mechanic. Now, I have problems with this. I have a lot of problems with this. I don't like this. This is a stupid fucking idea. They should introduce Immortal Empires for Warhammer 3 for everyone. And if you can only play the factions that have to do with your current game, then so be it. If you can only play Grand Cathay then, and Demons of Chaos, and Slaanesh, and Nurgle. If those were the only ones you could play, okay, fair enough. But they shouldn't have done this. This was stupid. Blocking the campaign that's arguably the only good one behind a paywall is not good. It's a bad business practice. Scummy. Now, let's say that you fess up, okay? You buy the 3 campaigns. I own everything now, right? No. No, you don't. And this is the part that I hate. In order to get access to the factions that aren't included in the base games, I will try and remember. So in Warhammer 2, you get access to Dark Elves. You get access to, let's see, High Elves. You get access to Skaven, obviously. So on and so forth. There are a couple of more. I forget them because I'm on the spot right now. Lizardmen, of course. But I do believe Skaven is a buy-in. I'm not too sure. It's been a long time. And the first game has Empire Dwarves. It has Vampire Counts. Greenskins. And of course the pre-order Warriors of Chaos. Yeah, that happened. So of course, everything I didn't mention, you don't get. So, you know, things like Vampire Coast, that's out. Tomb Kings, nope. Skaven, don't remember, but Main point is, if you want everything in this game, including the blood DLC for the third game, which you'll need to get blood in the game at all. You want everything, you have to pay 365 euros or your regional equivalent for all the DLCs. Now, we'll tell you, the DLCs are pretty good on their own, right? You looked at the Vampire Coast DLC, it's pretty good. They added a bunch of lords, they added a bunch of units, a bunch of new areas to explore, and well, new looks, the themes and all whatnot for both the faction and also the environment and siege towers, all that stuff. On their own, they're not bad, but there are so many of them, right? It's like, what is it? Let me actually check. How many pieces of DLC is it? 19, including the games, right? 19 DLCs. Now, I'm not going to tell you that the DLCs are small. DLCs are small. They're not. Some of them are smaller, but most of them are, pretty sizable. But most of them also deal with lords. So this is part of Lord Pack, for example. So they don't give you the entire faction. They split it up in piecemeal. I don't like this. It's needlessly confusing to understand what it is you need. It's dumb. They shouldn't have done this. Now, I don't know if there's a better way to do this. Honestly. Like, people go like, oh, developers need to make money. It's like, yeah, that's true. Sure. But there is a good way to do that, and then there is a not so good way to do that. Like, it all comes down to how it looks, yeah? Like, it looks greedy if you're splitting up what is essentially, what it could have been, 3 big, huge expansions. Like, if you had, let's say, Warhammer 1, and if you had 5 DLCs planned for that, I think it's about 5 or 6, and maybe even 7. If you had 7 DLCs planned, why don't you just make all of them into one huge expansion, make like some sort of intertwining story or something, and then release that as a $40 DLC, which is probably cheaper than all of them separately. So yeah, you lose out some of the nickel and diming that you'll do, but you'll lose out like half, but it looks better, it feels better. You start out the game and you got like, 4 new factions with like 4 new lords to the current factions you already got, on top of the 4 new factions with 2 lords each or whatever. That's a lot better. People feel a lot better about that. Because then it's like, oh, there's $40, but it's basically an entire new game on top, right? Same map, same graphics, but the content is about the same as you already played in terms of amount. I have problems with this. Like, I have problems with it. I really do. Like, I love this game, and I have like 1,200 hours in Warhammer 2. I think I have 700 in the first one, and I think I have about 400 in this one, or give or take. And I don't agree with it. Like, I can't recommend this game. It's my favorite game ever made, probably. I can't recommend it, because it's $365, or euro, whatever. Like, it's so much money, it doesn't even matter if I get dollars or euros wrong, because it's still a lot. It's an insane amount of money. Like, for one game, it's $60, and you're like, okay, but what do I get for it? Well, you get, like, an okay amount. It's not, like, an incredible amount. I mean, think about it. You get 4 factions. Well, you get quite a few more than factions. I'll be fair. You get, like, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 factions what you get. Okay? Sure, it's 7 factions, and they do play differently. But the campaign you're in, you have to have a mod to just have fun, really. Like, trust me. The campaign is like a stress simulator. Like, oh, I'm building up my campaign, I'm conquering, I'm doing all these things. I can only really afford 1 army, it's expensive. But then suddenly you get evaded by these portals you have to go through to win the game. You do that, and then your entire area is undefended, and all is corrupted, and, all that stuff. There are aspects of this game I didn't mention. Corruption's one of them. Every faction has some sort of either no corruption or just their own corruption. But honestly, it's not that big of a aspect of the game. Like, you'll have to fight it, sure. And there's public order and all that stuff. Everything you'd expect from what is essentially a city sim, right? Or Empire Sim, rather. It's all there. But I don't recommend this game. I'm gonna say it. Like, it's too expensive. If this game went off sale, like, let's say they do like a big Warhammer sort of sale, and it's all cut by like 80%, 70%, then okay, yeah. If it's cut by 70% minimum, so that it's about, you know, maybe 80 euros, 90, 100 for all of it, including all DLCs, okay. Then okay. 100 euros for all of this? Yeah, sure. And it sounds horrible of me to say that, because it's 3 games, right? For $100, you're like, oh, 3 games, you know, 3 AAA games, that's like, what, $60 each, at least, you know, 180. But yeah, you're right. On their own, sure, but they all intertwine at the end. And that's what you want. You want the end piece. And I'm sorry, but if you're going to do that, if you're going to take a good feature, an incredible feature actually, which is the Immortal Empires that you have here, and you're going to hide it at the very end of the game's franchise, and you're going to keep that behind lock and key, then yeah, that should come at a significant discount. I really believe that, because this part of the game is the best part of the game, by far. If you don't like mods, you don't have access to them for whatever reason, you don't want them, you don't like them, the campaign's not good. Like, you might like it, you might not, everyone's different, but every campaign plays out the same for you. Like, they have this incredible different cast of lords, they have this factions, all of them, and then they have a campaign that forces everyone playing the same. That's what they're doing. The best way to play is to have one province, so one big city and a couple of small ones, and then wait. That's the best way to play. Because the broader you are, the more cities you have, the more portals you're going to deal with, which is going to break your empire. So this, not good. This, incredible. But obviously you can't get access to it. And I know I'm, you know, like a broken record, but this is not good. I don't recommend this. That's all from me, though. Like, I can do like a follow-up on this, but I don't feel I need to, honestly. Anyway, that's all from me. Bye! Oh, and I'm not going to plug myself.